Trenton 365 with Jacque Howard. Profiling the businesses, organizations, and people that make Trenton better.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Trenton 365 Show. I'm your host, Jacque Howard. You can send me an email, trenton365show@gmail.com, and the website, trenton365.com. You're listening over WIMG 1300, New Jersey's oldest radio station, and a 3-time Stellar Awards winner as well. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, WIMG 1300. And if you're watching, it's over WPHY, Channel 25, covering Mercer County, New Jersey. In the studio with me in the first segment of the program is Bruce B.O.Y.D of the B.O.Y.D organization. And B.O.Y.D stands for Building Our Youth's Development. So, Bruce, thanks for coming back onto the show, which we'll just let folks know. It was like really super quick notice.
Yes.
You just happened to be here in the studio, and Bruce is always doing positive things, not only locally here in Trenton, but also throughout the region. So whenever I have a chance to have you on air, I'm always appreciative of that. So thanks for your time.
No, thanks for inviting me on such quick notice, but it's always good to get in front of people to let them know what we're doing, because we're still around 14 years.
Excellent. And tell the folks who don't know what the B.O.Y.D organization is and what it does. What would you tell them?
I would just tell them it's simply a character education program that has a big cultural identifying piece for our African American and Latino students. We simply have the 5 wells that we go by, which is to be well balanced, to be well read, to be well traveled, to be well spoken, and to be well dressed. We believe in those 5 wells, and we also go by the 4 E's, which is to educate, to empower, to enrich, and to expose our young people to the world outside of their environment.
Mm-hmm. Now, if anyone follows you on social media, they can see that you and the other partners and people who are part of the organization are always traveling. I can't even tell you how many different places, but developing this sense of identity and cultural awareness, etc. So recently, where have you taken the organization and the youth who are involved in it?
Well, recently we just came back from a 5-day, 4-night trip out Midwest. We went out to, it was called Destination Tulsa. It took us 2 years to raise enough money to take this trip by plane out to, our first stop was Kansas City, Missouri, and we went to the Jazz Museum and also the Negro League Baseball Museum, which was just phenomenal. Mm-hmm. We met people from the era. It was 18th and Vine, which was one of the Black Wall Streets of Missouri. And the Black Wall Street, for those who don't know, is just those places where black people could shop and they hung out, they partied, but it was our area. Mm-hmm. And 18th and Vine in Kansas City was that area where the blues restaurants and jazz clubs, and it was just a happening spot. So to go out there to understand that our people are amazing, and we mm-hmm. did a lot of amazing things here in these Americas, and one of the things that we allowed our students to see is that, yes, there were haberdasheries, bakeries, restaurants, you name it, we had it, grocery stores. And the thing that our children don't see is they don't see that, So for them to be in an area where they could touch it, feel it, and see it and say, okay, this is what used to be, is just phenomenal. Then we left from Kansas City and we went over to Topeka, to the Brown versus Board of Education School, and what a historic school and amazing opportunity for our young people to see a school and understand what separate but equal was. But Topeka took a hit. Mm-hmm. Topeka was one of those states that was literally separate but equal. Mm-hmm. Whatever the white schools had, the black schools had as well. And it was interesting to walk into a kindergarten classroom, and they had a full-blown fireplace, and in the kindergarten class. And as the park ranger, who was a historian, just told us that, when a child was walking into a school for the first time, and they would walk into that classroom, they had the fireplace, they had the sofas, they had the class, because they wanted the students to feel like they were at home. And understanding this, at this point, they had all black teachers. So they were walking and they were walking into a situation where it wasn't really strangers, but it was something of comfort. You know, now when young people are being exposed to elementary school for the first time, it's not that. It's very sterile, it's very regimented, and it's not a welcoming type of environment that, you know, that's what happens when you integrate without taking the curriculum, without taking the teachers, without taking anything else. You're just integrating, and then it's not the same feeling that one should have. And we can now see why at a very young age there's a disengagement. A disengagement with our young people because they're going into unfamiliar territory, and it's not a real welcoming experience. So,
and I want you to stick with the integration, because I think that, well, I know now that there's a large group of people who, a growing number of people feel as though integration in all aspects of it is wrong. I think that I know that there's other people who think that integration is good, but you made a key point. Integration, but with an equality, is totally different. Can you just elaborate on that?
So we left there, and I left there with the feeling like, why did we integrate when we had so many things for ourselves? However, it wasn't like that in every state. You go down to South Carolina, you were in a shack, and they had a nice brick building, and they were in a shack with an outhouse. So in some sense, integration, yes, it was needed, but in other times, no, it wasn't needed. And what we left with was the feeling when the ranger says, yes, we integrated, but the curriculum didn't integrate. So that was the disconnect, and that is the disconnect in this world, because although you can have a black figurehead, a black administrator, a black superintendent, you still don't have the same curriculum. You know, the Amistad law is still not being enacted here in New Jersey. So, in a sense, you know, you always fighting this battle, and you shouldn't have to fight for education, for equality in education. It should be your right, and yet it's not. You know, when you're learning more, or when our students are learning more about the Holocaust than they are about the Middle Passage. You know, about what happened, and if I can continue, we left Topeka and we ended up, and then we moved on to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where that was our destination, Tulsa, to get to the original Black Wall Street, where there were over 500 businesses, 25 counties of black folks. And what we learned, and at 45, I learned that the 25 counties, Oklahoma was designated for free black people. That's why it was so vast, and it was so many blacks there, because if I could just get out west, Trail of Tears for the Indians, just go out there, because it was nothing there. And from nothing, we made something. And in all of that, they burned it down. We rebuilt, and then, like every other predominantly black area, they threw a highway through it and destroyed us once again. So the sad part is that's what happened. The great part is we get a chance to recognize it. We get a chance to teach it. They get an understanding that Tulsa, as you walk through it now, is just placards, like it's a cemetery that says this is what used to be there. But understanding that this was a doctor's office, this was a haberdashery, this was a bakery, this was a restaurant, here's another haberdashery, here's a lawyer's office, all on the same block, and many of those places were co-op. Here was the hotel, here was the grocery store. And it was just amazing to see, because there was no place else in America where you can really go and see, except for these Black Wall Streets in Atlanta, in New York. But this one is really memorialized here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So it was a great experience for our young people to see that yes, this is possible. Yes, this can be you. And yes, this is why we bring you to these places so you can go back and create anew in you know, a Trenton Renaissance, so to speak, or wherever they are, to start anew and understand that yes, we did work together. We did collaborate. No, it's not. It wasn't all crabs in a barrel. No, we did some things and we did things right and together. So from there, we left there and we went over to St. Louis to the courthouse where Dred Scott and his wife fought for their freedom. And the courthouse was still there. It's now a national landmark. And the courtroom, we actually got a chance to go into that courtroom where that decision was heard and where they fought for their freedom. And understanding that too, like, no, we went up against the law when we felt that we were just and right and we can prevail, and it didn't have to be one of those things where we have to curse somebody out or cuss somebody out or get angry. No, there's a way that we can do things, and that is another opportunity for us to teach that, like, you know, if you want change, you got to be the change makers. You know, and that's one of the things that a lot of people aren't teaching. You know, we can talk about it, but you have to teach it. You have to tell them, yeah, you need to go to school for poli-sci. You need to go to school for this. You need to do this and you need to do that. That's the only way things are going to change. You know, we can be on social media all the time, but hitting a like is not going to change anything. Kneeling down and praying is not going to change anything. No, you're going to have to get up and use your feet and use your brain and do the action after the prayer, after the like. It's more to it. And I think our this generation believe that, oh, just hitting a like is enough. No, that's not enough. You know?
So you'd mentioned a couple of different things, and I know we could spend hours just talking about what B.O.Y.D does as an organization and about you personally. But a couple of things that I'd like for you to drill down on this short amount of time, and you're listening and watching the Trenton 365 show. The importance of sharing information and passing that on to generations, because that's one of the things that I'm most impressed with B.O.Y.D is that as an organization, you're literally changing the lives of groups of young people at a time. Sometimes as simple as something that's taking place here in the Trenton, New Jersey region. But then Tulsa, Oklahoma, St. Louis, Missouri, you're taking these young people and exposing them to some things that their parents and even 2 and 3 generations ahead of them haven't. Can you just talk about the importance of sharing that information?
Well, let me just, one clarification. We took young people and their parents.
Oh, great. It's even better. Awesome.
So, yes, they learn together. And that's one of the biggest things about B.O.Y.D is we're just an extended family. It was like a family vacation on a 55-passenger bus, traveling the Midwest, getting this history and understanding it. And you see the tears. We went to an actual slave pen, and we also went to a house that was part of the Underground Railroad, and that was also in Topeka. And so when people always, you know, we were always trained that the Underground Railroad ran from the south to the north, but the biggest place was out west.
Yeah.
And so to go there and to see it and to debunk some of the stuff, some of the miseducation that we had was a great feeling. But the parents, the grandparents, the great-grandparents came on this trip with us, and they cried, and they were just amazed, and they were hurt because they didn't know the history. They didn't know the stories because, again, they were miseducated. Although they were living through it, they only were in that little piece of wherever they were, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia area, some parts of New Jersey. So they didn't even know the full scope. They were living through it, but didn't even know it themselves. Mm-hmm.
So how can people find out more about the organization and specifically get in contact with you so that the program can continue to grow?
It's very easy. We have a social media presence on Facebook. Our website is boyd-nj.org. That's more just for little information, but you know, my social media page is the one where I really talk about what we do. I blogged the whole time we were on this trip. Every morning I talked about the day before, and I got so many responses from just people who said I learned so much through this journey that we're starting our fundraising for our next trip. We're going to Little Rock, Arkansas, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Memphis, Nashville, Tennessee, and one other place next year, the same time, the first week of July. And yes, we go away for the 4th of July because we understand that wasn't our independence. So, we go away and we go explore that first week of July, destination Little Rock. And many of our students have already read the first book, which was Warriors Don't Cry by Melba Patillo, one of the Little Rock Nine who wrote her book. So we got to go there. After going to Topeka to that school, we got to get to Little Rock to see that high school that is now a museum to tell that story as well.
Bruce Boyd, man, I really appreciate you, and even more so tonight for stepping in on a short notice. Thank you so much, Bruce Boyd of the B.O.Y.D organization. You can find out information by just Googling or doing an internet search for the B.O.Y.D, B-O-Y-D organization in New Jersey, and information and this archive will be on the Trenton365.com website. Bruce, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll be back after a short break. You're listening and watching the Trenton 365 show.
McDonald's is taking it up with their new signature sriracha sandwich, topped with crispy onions, fresh baby spinach, and kale. So I'm taking my voice up with an exclusive sriracha mac sauce with just the right amount of spice, maybe a little more. Now enjoy the same sriracha mac sauce with your McNuggets. Get a 20-piece McNuggets and sriracha mac sauce dipping sauce for only $5. But hurry, it's only for a limited time. Limited time offer at participating McDonald's. Cannot be combined with any other offer or any combo meal.
So I can get any size Coke for just $1 at McDonald's?
Yes.
A medium?
Mm-hmm.
Even a large?
Hey, you're starting to catch on.
Oh, what about a small large?
If a small large was a real thing, then yes, it would also be $1.
I don't think this day could get any better.
I'll throw in a striped straw.
Oh, you don't have to.
You'll need it anyway.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It also makes sense to stop into McDonald's and get an ice-cold, refreshing any-size Coke for just $1. A la carte only. Price and participation may vary.
And welcome back to Trenton 365. I am your new host, C. Jacque mess up. He just let me take over his show whenever I feel like it, so boom. I'm Vennie, and I just decided to just take over Jacque's show. Hi, Jacque.
How you doing, Vennie? I think that you're going to make a fantastic host.
So the crickets is because y'all don't understand what Jacque does to me before he goes on air. Okay? He is very nice some days to other people. He's just not that nice to me. But big shout out to you for not being nice, and I still keep you around.
Well, thank you so much. That's because you're so lovely, and whenever I see you, your smile is infectious. So I appreciate you.
Sure, I will not pay you anything for doing this interview. And I will charge you $250 for that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Trenton 365, though, for real. As my grandson says, for real. You do a lot in the community. And most recent, I went downstairs in our library box, right? Because I go check it every once in a while. And I actually found a couple of books I wanted to read. So a big shout out to the person that you have or the group of people that's going around and filling the library boxes up. Why is that important for you to keep books in that box?
Sure. So a few years ago, with the previous administration here in Trenton, several of the libraries, 3 of the 4 public libraries were closed. And I was really affected by that for some reason. I understand the importance of literacy and reading, etc. So I didn't quite know what to do. I had saw some things on the internet, some different creative ways that people came up with giving away books. And I reached out to one of those organizations and found out that they were charging, several $100s for these little library boxes that they were calling them, or book nooks. And I said, well, I don't have any funding to do that. What else can I do? Well, lo and behold, in downtown Trenton, there were several newspaper boxes that were rusting or being filled with trash and being used as drop-off locations for all kinds of things. And I spoke with the City of Trenton and the Trenton Downtown Association and partnered with them to get approximately 15 of those boxes off the street. I then had several of my friends who were artists paint them and to make them into public pieces of art. They were then adopted by people, and WIMG was one of the adopters of the box that's outside, with the intention that they would take the boxes and keep them, maintain them, and that they would fill them with reading materials that could be distributed for free throughout the city of Trenton and throughout the region from anyone who comes in. Now, part of the idea behind this was that the person who adopted would take on the initiative of maintaining it, and it would be their box. Just put it in a public location and periodically come on to the Trenton 365 show, or to let me interview you for a blog post to talk about the boxes and some of the materials and reading materials that were in them. Well, if your box is getting filled by books and other reading materials, it's being done by someone in the public. We don't have a staff or anything like that that goes around and fills them. I mean, I periodically will stop by one and check it out and take some pictures, but whenever I do that, I document it. So if there are books that are and other reading materials that are rotating or changing, that means that there are people in the community who are utilizing these boxes and its intended purpose is being done. Some people have said, well, what about if these books are being taken and then sold, or if they're being thrown in the trash? Well, I haven't seen that happen anywhere where they've been thrown in the trash or discarded onto the street or anything of that nature. But if someone's taking those books and distributing them and selling them, then I think it's a good thing, because I think that as long as these books aren't going into the trash or into the landfill, it's good for our community, and it's good for people in general to be able to have reading materials.
Oh, that's phenomenal that someone actually is, because I haven't filled it up. I'm taking myself in trouble, but I honestly and truly haven't. And so I went down last week and I actually pulled the book out myself and was like, oh, very nice. And then I ended up needing it for school, but it was still there. So I thought that maybe you had people going around and doing that. That's
Not
amazing.
at all. Yeah, so again, that's part of the brilliance of this. I mean, I think that if we put people in the right place and give them instructions, I think that we all want to do the right thing. So therefore, other people understand the concept. They're following it on social media, and the Facebook page is Library Boxes of Trenton, hashtag LBOT, LBOT, so Library Boxes of Trenton. So people are responding. Thousands of people are seeing the posts, so I would assume that they're the people who are traveling around and either checking out what's in the different library boxes and book nooks and also exchanging them. I do know that partnerships with Bart's Books, which is the author of the book Art of the CEO, and Prometheus Publishing, secured some financing to make sure that the artists were paid during the initial phase 1, but also magazineliteracy.org, which is an international organization based out of Trenton, New Jersey, where they give away magazines for free. and their relationship is with the publishers. So therefore, they have access to all different types of magazines. I know some of the ones that have been very popular recently are the highlights for kids magazines, as well as guideposts, also National Geographic, several fashion magazines like Vogue, Lucky, Vogue, Teen Vogue, and also the New Yorker are also very popular as well.
I love the highlights. I still look at them myself, play with them, and then I may let my grandkids come and we pick out the things that we can find. But I love those highlight books. They've been around forever, forever, ever. Another thing that you're a part of is that I find to be interesting, and I think I want to go once it's built, is the skate park that they're trying to build here. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So the skate park was an initiative that I came up with and presented to a friend, Mark Leckington, who works in the city of Trenton, who is an advocate skateboarder. I'm not a skateboarder. I was more of a BMX type, and I still ride my bike quite a bit. But I was always shocked at the amount of skateboarders that I would see downtown Trenton on the weekends. And I started asking some questions, and Mark said, yeah, Trenton's a destination site nationally for people who want to come and skateboard.
Why?
I think it has more to do with the architecture, one. Two, the way that the architecture is designed. And also the fact that during the weekends, it's not overly crowded. So therefore, there's probably not a chance that the police or any other law enforcement are going to run you out or off of these properties. So I was like, well, what do you think about the idea about having a skate park, Bill? And he goes, I think it would be fantastic. And so I started asking a lot of questions like I generally do, started doing a lot of research. And, because of my media access here on WIMG and the other things that I do in the community, I've met some tremendous people who have thought the idea was fantastic. So now we've got a growing number of people who are interested in the idea. We have a location picked out. And we're working with several different entities. I don't want to give too much away, but you can go to the Facebook page, Capital City Rollers on Facebook, and there you can actually see some preliminary designs. You can find out what we're doing. We have meetings on a pretty regular basis, I'd say every 6-8 weeks or so, and you can come and you can join us. All the input that we receive, we're going to try to apply to this area. The idea is to make this a destination site, and for this skate park to be one of the best skate parks designed by skaters on the East Coast.
Designed by skaters is important because they can't come to me and say, Vennie, design a skate park. I'm going to tell you what I think ought to be in there, but it may be wrong. Acoustically, it could be wrong. So that's a beautiful thing. Another thing that you are involved in is a lot of the artsy things that's going on, like Art All Night. Just recently, they had another big art show that you were downtown with. And then they also have music venue things on Thursdays, I believe, at Mill Hill Park. Talk to me about those.
Sure thing. So my relationship with art in general, I graduated from the Art Institute of Philadelphia with a degree in fashion. So fashion is one of my passions. But I look at art, life is art in general, etc. In addition to that, Art All Night, the organization, puts on Art All Night and Art All Day. And the concert series that you spoke of, the Levitt Foundation, has concert series in multiple locations throughout the country. And here in Trenton, New Jersey is one of the sites, and it's called the Levitt Amp Summer Concert Series, and it's based out of Trenton, New Jersey. And I am the MC host for those events. And more information for that can be found by visiting destinationtrenton.org.
Tell us about some of the acts that have been there, and what can we expect this Thursday?
Well, the coolest thing that I feel about the Levitt Foundation and what they're doing with the Levitt AMP series is that it's designed specifically to build a community. So this is our fourth year of doing this through grant funding and also through fundraising. We're able to raise the money to meet this. But so we partner with a headlining band. Like most recently, we had Jeff Bradshaw recently performed. But we also have an opening act, which is a local band or local group of musicians. And again, more information without going into a lot of details now. A lot of the information, all the information can be found by doing an internet search for Levitt Amp Trenton or the Levitt Foundation /Trenton.org, or you can actually go to the Trenton 365 Show Facebook page, and those archives and images are there as well.
Okay, well, Jacque, I'm done taking over your show. You can come on this side, and you have 2 more guests that are here, okay?
Fantastic. Thanks.
All right. We'll be right back.
U.S. Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Need a truck to move? Let Justin's Rental of Selman's Eagle save the day. Justin's has the right trucks for all commercial and residential moves. Justin's has the moving supplies and boxes available. Justin's Rental at Selman's Eagle has everything you need